Hello, everyone. Today is Saturday, January 22nd, 2022. Ethiopia's half-year coffee export revenue hits $578 million. This article is taken from Ethiopian Monitor. Ethiopia's six-month coffee export revenue grew by $274 million to more than $500 million in the first half of this current 2021-2022 fiscal year, says authority. The country secured $578 million in revenues after shipping 148,882 tons, that is 328 million pounds, of coffee to the international market in the 6-month period beginning July 8, 2021. Both the value and volume of coffee export, respectively, increased 57,000 tons and $274 million compared to the same period last year. Director General of the authority Ethiopian Coffee and Tea, Dr. Adugna Debela, told ENA on Thursday. So in Ethiopia, it seems that coffee production increased, whereas in the rest of the world, in Latin America for sure, in Colombia, I know for sure, it decreased. I can't remember why. I'm a coffee expert, just in case you didn't know. And so the price of coffee went up because of that, because it's more scarce now. So for some reason, Ethiopia and probably the rest of East Africa, which is where the best coffee comes from because the mountains are taller than in West Africa. So the better grade of coffee is grown there, whereas the lower grade of coffee that they use for instant coffee, etc., is grown in West Africa because it doesn't matter at what elevation, but the best coffee, the higher it grows to a certain degree, within reason, the better it is. And so, you only use the best coffee in the high mountains. But I think I know Uganda it produces the cheaper coffee, which is called Robusta. Arabica is the more expensive one. Mainly produces the cheaper coffee, Uganda. I don't know how tall the mountains are there. But this would indicate to me that Africa is shielded from the lower coffee production of last year, and I'm sure it would run into this year as well. So that's good news. And the fact that they're talking about two different seasons means that I know it's in some East African countries, but maybe it's in all. I don't know. Maybe not, but obviously in Ethiopia, they have two growing seasons, which is somewhat rare because in most Latin American countries, if I remember correctly, it's just one growing season. And those of you who are familiar with the farming season in Africa, I'm sure you know exactly what I mean. So Africa is blessed with this, so it can produce basically twice as much, because it has two different seasons as opposed to one, which is the norm. The 6-month revenue figure makes coffee the top performing export goods for Ethiopia, which secured $1.89 billion from export revenues in the period. Authorities attributed the brewing performance of the coffee sector to the recent policy reform, which helped to improve export quality standards and integrate its marketing system vertically. The system has brought coffee growers and exporters closer, the Director General said during a meeting that reviewed the sector's performance. Ethiopia is now exporting over 1,000 tons, that's 2.2 million pounds, of coffee per day. Authorities believe that there is still more room to expand the coffee export. Apart from expanding farming coverage, attention should be given to make the existing coffee farms sustainably productive, Dugna told the review meeting. And in the book that I'm writing, I have about 400 pages done. I have the rough draft done already, that I've been writing for the last 10 years. Of all the 20 countries that I've written about, the one that impresses me the most when it comes to coffee farming techniques is Hawaii, because the University of Hawaii and other experts in Hawaii produces on record the second best coffee. Jamaica Blue Mountain is their number one coffee over the years. I don't want to go into the details, but on record, let's say. I mean, a lot of people love Ethiopian coffee. That's the origin of coffee. That's the birthplace. But as far as pound for pound, it's Jamaica Blue Mountain, and I've had it, and it's exquisite. And I've had some Ethiopian coffee that was exquisite, but not all of it is. And then the second most expensive coffee, historically, is Kona from Hawaii. But there's a Japanese gentleman, farmer, and then there's a professor from the University of Hawaii, and then there were about three. The professor, Japanese guy, Japanese American guy, and just American on the Hawaiian island where Kona is. They came up with the technique, and then another Japanese American guy in Hawaii came up with another one, and they were able to produce a lot more coffee because of the way that they this method that they came up with. So the point is, there's a lot of room for growth in Africa, and hopefully I'll be a part of that. It's just, the point is, not only is more land important to use for growing coffee, but the techniques that you use, or technique is important. The East African nation is currently well on the way to not only achieve the export target set for the sector, but also break into annual coffee export revenue record. Africa's top coffee producer obtained a new revenue of $906 million from coffee export last year, and targets to secure over $1 billion by the end of the current 2021-2022 year, because they made 578, so they're well on target on schedule to produce to earn over $1 billion this fiscal year. And the other thing I wanted to share is, since I've been writing my book for 10 years, and I just chanced upon it when I was in graduate school, and I learned that at the time that coffee farmers around the world, they were earning very little for their coffee. And I remember specifically, there's a video. I think it's called Black Gold, and it's about the Ethiopian coffee industry. And one of the farmers was interviewed, and he said that Ethiopian farmers. It's about the Ethiopian coffee industry. This was over 10 years ago, about 15 years ago, because it was, it had been out 10 years ago already for a few years. And he said that if Ethiopian coffee farmers can make 50 cents a pound, they would be in heaven. They are currently making, according to what I calculated, about $1.80 a pound. And it has always been my goal for coffee producers around the world, in Latin America, Asia, like Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and definitely Africa, for them to make $2 a pound for their coffee. Because I figure, I've done the math, and I figure that around the world would be a good earnings for farmers. And so they're almost there. They're almost at $2 a pound in Ethiopia. So this is great, 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 great news, because it's not happening, by the way, in Guatemala. Why do you think so many Latin Americans from Guatemala, Honduras, these coffee producing countries, where half the country is involved one way or another in the coffee growing industry? Why are they leaving their farms to go to America? Because they're losing their farms because they're not making enough. But that's a story for another day. But it shows here that, at least in the case of Ethiopia, that the coffee farmers are being taken care of. And I've seen the Abiy administration firsthand, at least in the news, take care of his farmers to make sure that they earned what they should. And so I can't wait to, well, I'll leave it alone. But it's good news for Ethiopia.